Okay, I guess we are going to start slowly. Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this early hour for the launch of the project. My name is Julia Ropnifard, and I'm an assistant professor at the School of Politics, History and International Relations of the University of Nottingham in Malaysia. I'm going to be your MC for today, and I'm also the co-lead of the project on enhancement of manufacturing and oil palm third-party audits compliance and due diligence with certification that we are launching today. And we would like to take this opportunity to introduce our short but very intense project to all of you. We are let me share my screen. We are delighted to have everyone who managed to join us today. His Excellency High Commissioner of the UK in Malaysia, our colleagues from PHIR and also at the University of Nottingham, colleagues from, I'm trying to share my screen, colleagues from multiple ministries, which are also on board with the project. The certifying bodies such as MPOCC and some colleagues are going to speak before you today as well. The name of the project is slightly long, so probably you have noticed in all the invitations we name it TIP PHIR, which is the name of our School of Politics, History and International Relations at the University of Nottingham. TIP as in trafficking in persons. So sometimes you're going to see this label for the project. We use it for as a short name. I think I'm not going to speak for a long time. I would actually wanted to thank all of you for your support and getting here together this morning. I will be passing the word to Dr. Karma Tashi Chadron, the assistant professor at the PHIR, University of Nottingham, for introducing the project. However, for the start of it, if I may ask you to turn on your cameras, all our guests today, if you don't mind, so we could take a picture for this launch. Unfortunately, we are not able to still get together because of the pandemic. However, we are very much looking forward to the execution of the project and to the moment where we will be able to present the project results around January or February. And then we are looking forward to inviting all of you to our beautiful campus in Simini and welcoming you there in person. So if I may ask you all to turn on your cameras so we could take a group picture, please. Okay, is someone taking a picture, ladies?
Yep. All right, if everyone is ready, 1, 2, 3. All right, another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think I need to switch to the next page. Give me a second. Okay, 1, 2, just keep smiling because you don't actually know which page you're on. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alia. Okay. So thank you so much for turning on your cameras, those who didn't mind. And without further ado, I would like to pass the microphone to my colleague, Dr. Karma Tashi Chodron, who is the assistant professor at PHR, UNM, and also the project lead. So she'll be able to say a few words and to introduce the project to you before we pass the word to His Excellency Charles Hay. Karma, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julia. I was just wondering whether, can anyone confirm whether my screen is visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Very good morning to His Excellency Charles Hay, representatives from the ministries. There are the different ministries of Home Affairs, Ministry of Primary Industries, Ministry of MAPU, Magma, and other industry players, as well as our own academics, the head of school, Professor Andy Chan, the Research and Knowledge Hub Director, Vice Provost, head of school, Professor William Case, and also my colleagues and students at the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and members of the public. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. A very warm welcome to all of you to our Pioneer project. Just to introduce you to the project, just give me a second. I'm going to okay, my name is Karma. I'm also known as Savinder. The title of our project is, just give me a second, I've got too many things on my, Enhancement of Manufacturing and Oil Palm Third-Party Audits, Compliance and Due Diligence with Certification Bodies. This project was framed in mind because of the numerous accusations against industry players in Malaysia. So the University of Nottingham, through the School of Politics, History and International Relations, has received funding from the British High Commission of Malaysia through the UK Commonwealth Foreign Office in order to build the capacity of internal and third-party auditors in understanding the dynamics of TIP, trafficking in persons, and labor compliances. So basically what we are trying to do is to build the capacity of auditors and also to sensitize industry players, representatives from the industry, especially the rubber glove manufacturing industry and also the oil palm industry. I myself have worked as a social auditor in timber industry as well as oil palm industry, and I have also firsthand witnessed several incidences of non-compliances in terms of forced labor. And that's how my colleagues and I mooted the idea to our funder, and we received the funding. The period of our funding is from 30th of August until January 2022. So it's a very, very short time frame, but we will do our best in this very short time frame. So to meet our project objectives, which are to basically enhance the capacity of third-party and internal auditor competency in detecting and reporting incidences of forced labor. During my time as a social auditor in the field, I noticed that young auditors especially grapple with detection of forced labor because it's not very easy to detect in the field. It's very subtle, and sometimes auditors are just not able to pick it up. So it's that in view that my colleagues and I devised this project. And also the School of Politics, History and International Relations would like to also engage with industry players in order to work together to solve this pressing problem. And we realized that, of course, a short 5-month project will not be able to completely eradicate. That's a tall claim. But what we're trying to do here is to at least get the ball rolling from the side of academia, especially since this is a pioneer project for our university and it's a very exciting project for all of us. So we are actually very keen to work with civil society organizations, the different ministries, as well as industry players, wherever we can, to support our government's efforts in combating incidences of forced labor and basically eradicating trafficking in persons in the long run. So this is the commitment from the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. So We have a lot of activities lined up. I will not go through it, but basically our project involves primary data collection, engagement with various stakeholders from certification bodies, industries, as well as 2 training components. So the first training component will be to train company representatives from the rubber glove manufacturing industry, as well as the oil palm industry. And the second series of trainings will be for third-party auditors and also internal auditors in order for them to be able to learn how to pick up subtle incidences, very, very difficult, sometimes to really understand what's going on in the field if one has not been sensitized and trained for it. This is from my personal experience. And we also have a monitoring and evaluation component, post-training perception surveys of peer reviewers of certification schemes, as well as we are trying to also monitor after training whether the companies that we have trained have still have outstanding incidences of forced labor detection. We know that one set of training, 2 sets of trainings will not eradicate the problem, but we are hoping that it will minimize, and it's a way forward to reduce the number of incidences in industry. We have a very small team which consists of 4 persons, myself included. I'm the project lead, and my co-lead is Assistant Professor Dr. Julia Rocknifat, and we have 2 lovely research assistants and very intelligent and very committed, Savita Saravanan, our postgraduate student who just graduated, and also Alia Abra, our final year student of the School of Politics, History and International Relations. So we also have industry players. We also have collaboration. Sorry, we also have collaboration with the rubber glove manufacturing industry through Magma. So I would like to thank Dr. Supra and also Ms. Girija for closely collaborating with us, and also Ms. Xu from MAPU and all our project partners. Without your commitment and support, and also the support from the University of Nottingham, especially RKE Hub and our department, we would not have been able to get this launch, and also we would not have been able to secure the funding without the support of everyone. So I take this opportunity to welcome everybody on board, and I look forward to seeing all of you at the trainings, which I will announce at the later part of this launch. So thank you very much, and I wouldn't take more time because I would like to pass the ball back to Dr. Julia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karma, for the introduction, introducing us to these several venues of the project that we've planned. I would also like to thank our partners who are present here and who came here today not only to say a few words about the state of the situation with forced labor and trafficking in persons, especially in what pertinent to the 2 major industries whose representatives are present here today, but also were engaging with us when discussing the project, and are going to engage with us in the course of the project. We are really thankful for your support. As I've already mentioned, as well as Dr. Karma just did, the project is funded by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office and is conducted in close collaboration and with the support of the British High Commission in Malaysia. So next, I would like to pass the floor to His Excellency Charles Hay, the British High Commissioner to Malaysia, to say a few words about our collaboration and the project and the view from your office, Your Excellency, at the state of affairs in this area. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rockcliffe. Thank you very much, Dr. Karma, for your introduction. And I'm really pleased to be here, and I'm very, very pleased indeed that the British High Commission is supporting this very important project. And I'm really pleased to see such a wide range of guests taking part in this event. It's always a good sign when the the organisers need several attempts to capture everybody in a screenshot. Shows how many people are taking part. And it's great to see people involved in different ministries, certification bodies, and the industry. So I think it was really interesting what Dr. Karma was saying at the beginning about the difficulty of spotting and dealing with this horrible problem of modern human slavery. And it's not easy to spot, as Dr. Karma was saying, and there are lots of reasons for that. Very often workers are unaware of their rights, the conditions they should be being treated under. Often they're fearful of speaking out. Often they're terrified of losing their positions because, of course, they're desperate to earn money. So there are lots of reasons why it's hard to spot. And it's a problem that we've been becoming more and more aware of in the UK over the years. And we've made huge efforts over the past years to address it, particularly through our groundbreaking Modern Slavery Act, which came into force in 2015. I think we're making good progress, but we've got a lot to learn. And I suspect that this is a problem that is probably prevalent in probably every single country on the planet. So recognizing the scale of the problem is the first and most important step. And that's why this very broad engagement that we're seeing today is so important. And modern slavery can only be tackled and eliminated if we all come together to address it. And as I've been looking at this issue over the years, it's come to me that probably the most important tool we have in our toolbox is auditing, and it's rigorous and effective and no notice spot auditing. And this is something that we've been discussing in the High Commission with a number of the different people on this call, with MAGMA, the Ministry of Human Resources, palm oil certification boards, and others. And this rigorous auditing and certification to set standards based on these ILO principles is how we can be confident that our supply chains that we rely on are ethical, and the workers we all rely so much on are well treated. And one of the things that, of course, that we've all become much more aware of through this coronavirus pandemic is just how dependent we all are on these very, very long supply chains that stretch across the globe. So I'm very grateful to the University of Nottingham for bringing together some great expertise in this area so that Malaysian industry, certification bodies and third-party auditors can develop and gain more understanding to really identify and root out the problems at source. And this isn't just about the interests of the workers. I think it's in the interests of all of us. And again, what we've seen over the years is that consumers have become much more aware of the issue of modern human slavery, and they've become much less tolerant of it. And we see very strong demands in the UK and elsewhere. We've seen huge amounts of interest in our parliaments, in our press, and our media. And I think it's driving business, because business has been, through ignorance or whatever reason, has sometimes not been aware of the problem. But I think it's now widely recognized that it's a key to business success to recognize, root out modern slavery and develop ethical supply chains. And I think that buyers and manufacturers who don't recognize this and take it seriously will see their businesses affected. And it's also got a wider knock-on effect, of course, on country reputations. And no country wants to be known as a place where modern human slavery is tolerated and not tackled. And I believe there's a real desire in Malaysia to tackle this and to show leadership. And I believe that Malaysia can do that. And this project will, I think, help and contribute to that. So we in the UK, we're delighted to be sponsoring this project. We're ready and willing always to partner with the Malaysian government, with industry and civil society to tackle this problem of modern human slavery. And I very much look forward to hearing the results of this project and to ideas from others on how we can work further to help develop our understanding and our effectiveness in tackling the issues. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for this introduction and words of support, Your Excellency. Okay, let me share my screen again. Next, I would like to.
Hello.
Next, I would like to pass a word to another important guest we have with us today, Ms. Shohaida Abdullah Zen, who is currently heading the National Strategic Office to the Council for Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants, MAPO. But also, I would like to introduce Ms. Shohaida as a long-standing civil servant of the government of Malaysia with the Ministry of Home Affairs and other relevant agencies with tremendous experience and in particular with tremendous experience in tackling a variety of issues concerning migrants, spearheading the National Action Plan on Anti-Trafficking in Persons, the so-called NAPTIP 3.0, and taking part and spearheading a variety of other initiatives in what is pertinent to the migrant issues, forced labor, and trafficking in persons. Ms. Shohaida, the floor is yours, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Julia, for the kind introduction. I'm humbled by it, but allow me to address the colleagues here. His Excellency Charles Hay, British High Commissioner in Malaysia, Dr. Karma Tashi from PHIR UNM, Professor Sarah, Mr. Shahnas from MPIC, Mr. Simon Salvaraj from MPOCC, Dr. Supra from MAGMA, dearest professors, students, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and selamat pagi. I am delighted to be part of the virtual launch of the Enhancement of Manufacturing and Oil Palm Third-Party Audits Compliance and Due Diligence with Certification Bodies Project, or the TIP project, undertaken by the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, with the generous funding from the British High Commission. First of all, I would like to applaud University of Nottingham, Malaysia, for the noble idea of the TIP project and the hard work put into designing the project itself, especially the objectives and the outputs, which I believe is at most relevant in the current circumstances of Malaysia. I understand the challenges as well as the thought processes that take place in the background before the grand launch. I must congratulate your institution for successfully securing the TIP project. Next, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the British High Commission and the government of the United Kingdom for generously funding the TIP project, for it will not be possible to run this project otherwise. I must say that this is truly a privilege for my office to collaborate with the Foreign High Commission and academic institution to a more certification bodies, come auditors, and numerous business organizations through this project. This is a clear indication of how Malaysia is progressing in our fight against human trafficking and forced labor. It is safe to say that we all recognize that human trafficking is a complex problem that can affect anyone at varying degrees, and business organizations alike are not spared of the negative repercussion of human trafficking, which can take place both in Malaysia and abroad. Hence, it requires actions from multiple actors, including business organizations and the academia, apart from the government, as we cannot combat human trafficking and forced labor single-handedly. Though none of us here may be new to working on the issues of human trafficking and forced labor, nevertheless, to be working together with each and every one of you through this joint collaboration is something my office and I look forward to do in the coming months. In this regard, please allow me to briefly share with you about Malaysia's recently launched National Action Plan on Anti-Trafficking in Persons 2021 to 2025, or NAPTIP 3.0. I'm pleased to share with you that the NAPTIP adopts a whole of society approach in our fights against human trafficking. And in fact, I am proud to inform you that under the prevention pillar of the NAPTIP, we have envisioned for several activities with tertiary educational institutes and business organizations. As for businesses, the NAPTIP outlines a very specific output which is to increase adoption of processes and internal policies to identify and address tip and forced labor in supply chain and recruitment process. It is worth noting that through the implementation of the TIP project, the objectives of the NAPTIP are simultaneously being achieved. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the government's first on the whole of society approach to tackle the crime, I must highlight that cooperation is key and in sharing best practices and lessons learned moving forward. Hence, all forms of collaboration with various organizations that would be supporting us in the implementation of the NAPTIP 3.0 is very much encouraged. Similarly, I hope business organizations, especially from the manufacturing and oil palm industries, in your own capacity as a firm or businesses, will support the government by ensuring your supply chain and recruitment process adheres to international standards and most importantly is free from any exploitative elements. I do agree that nothing can substitute for the critical role of governments and workers' institutions in ensuring compliance with labor standards. But in areas where these mechanisms are not fully developed or are being developed, private sector compliance initiatives assist to fill in that important gap. An effective social audit can make an important contribution to the identification, prevention, and eradication of forced labor. Therefore, I hope businesses acknowledge the key roles your organizations can play in actualizing the success of the outputs of this comprehensive enhancements of manufacturing and all palm third-party audit compliance and due diligence with the certification bodies project. Distinguished guests, as for businesses, I hope this project would guide your organizations to better understand the operational practices that increase workers' vulnerability to forced labor and where the risk of forced labor is more likely to occur and how to avoid or respond to this problem by incorporating best practices and transparency in the business supply chain. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my address, I would like to reiterate that all organizations and institutions play a critical role in Malaysia's response to eradicate tip and forced labor. Hence, capacity building projects for businesses such as this will seek to complement efforts taken by the government. Once again, I congratulate and thank the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and the British High Commission in Malaysia for making the TIP project a reality. And my best wishes for many successful outcomes from the TIP project to all business organizations involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shohaida, for your kind introduction and not only for being with us here today, for carving out your time, but also being on board with this project and engaging with us. We do appreciate the engagement of MAPO and the Ministry of Home Affairs as a whole. However, Ms. Shohaida is in a very high demand, especially on this issue, and she will probably have to rush for another event right after this. So Ms. Shohaida, we will excuse you whenever you will have to leave. And thank you again for being with us today and highlighting the points that you did.
Thank you. I'll be leaving now.
Thank you so much. Next, I would like to introduce you one of our attendees, guests, who is unfortunately not physically or virtually present with us today. However, also wanted to support us. Excuse me. Also wanted to support us in our today's launch. This is the University of Nottingham's provost, the interim provost, Professor Dr. Sarah Metcalfe, who unfortunately is still in the UK. So it would be slightly drastic in her schedule to be present with us today, but she recorded a short address to the honorable participants and attendees of our event today. May I just quickly confirm with you, dear guests, can you see my screen? Yep,
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Metcalfe, and I'm the interim provost of the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. I am still in the UK, so unable to attend in person, but I wanted to record something to mark the launch of this important project, which aims to improve the awareness of forced labour, also known as human trafficking, in the manufacturing and oil palm industry in Malaysia, particularly amongst internal and third-party auditors. Unfortunately, Malaysia has been described as a hub for human trafficking and has consistently been in the bottom tier of the US State Department's ranking of countries in relation to this issue. This is largely in relation to poor employment practices for migrant workers in manufacturing and oil palm production. With funding from the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, supported by the British High Commission in Malaysia, this project aims to tackle this problem by working with representatives of the key industries, oil palm and rubber, and offering free online training sessions to auditors. We are also delighted by the engagement of government and certification bodies and professional associations. By working together, this project aims to raise awareness of this issue and through improved awareness and training, raise standards, and hence Malaysia's ranking in relation to this issue. Ultimately, this will benefit the reputation of the country and encourage international investment. I would like to congratulate Dr. Karma Tashi Chedron and Dr. Julie Rockniford from the School of Politics, History and International Relations at UNM for developing this project and securing the funding to make their idea a reality. It is part of the University of Nottingham's strategic vision to carry out research and education that solves problems and improves lives in a culture that is fair and respectful. And across the wider university, we are supporting the theme of this project through our Rights Lab Beacon. I am very pleased to welcome all of you to this launch event and thank you for your engagement in this work. I hope that this is the start of a long cooperation between the university, the relevant ministries of the Malaysian government, and industry representatives. I would particularly like to thank His Excellency Charles Hay, the British High Commissioner to Malaysia, for his active support of this project and his contribution to this launch event. I wish you all a very productive session today and throughout the project. Although the programme will be online now, we do hope that we will be able to invite you to our campus in person in the new year to share the results of this work. And I'll very much look forward to meeting some of you then. Thank you.
We thank Professor Sarah Metcalfe for her words of support straight from the UK. However, I wanted to draw your attention that we have, I hope I'm not mistaken, we have present with us Professor Andy Chan, the Vice Provost of the University of Nottingham in Malaysia, who is hopefully going to accompany us for the press conference or whatever questions the media might have right after we finish. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Andy. And next, I would like to introduce you our next speaker, but also not only the speaker, but the supportive party from the Ministry of Plantation Industries and Commodities, the Undersecretary, Mr. Shahnaz Akhtar Ali. Mr. Shahnaz, the floor is yours. We would like you to hear what you have to say about the situation with the forced labor, especially in what is pertinent to the industries, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all of you. His Excellency Charles Hay, the British High Commissioner to Malaysia, Professor Andy, Dr. Karma Tashi Chedron, TIP Project Lead, Dr. Julia Rocknifat, TIP Project Co-Lead, fellow colleagues from the ministries and agencies, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, thank you to UNM for inviting MPIC to the project launch on trafficking in persons related to the manufacturing and oil palm industry with the generous funding from the British High Commission under its International Programme Fund. As we are all aware, COVID-19 pandemic had caused labor shortage for many industries, including the oil palm industry and also the rubber sector industry. Malaysia, as the world's second biggest palm oil producer, relies on foreign workers for 78% of its plantation workforce, mainly from Indonesia and Bangladesh. And in rubber sector, the percentage of foreign workers recorded is around 64% from 72,000 total employees. But recruitment, however, has stalled for almost 2 years because of the travel restriction, movement control order, MCO, and border closure in most countries during the pandemic period. Based on data from the Immigration Department of Malaysia, or JIM, the total number of legal foreign workers in the plantation sector in Malaysia as of September 2021 is 141,000, while the shortage of foreign workers in the oil palm plantation is now reaching more than 70,000 and 25,000 for rubber glove sector, as reported by the industry player. And as a result of the labor shortage, the oil palm industry lost an estimated 10 billion to 12 billion ringgit in revenue for 2020. And as for rubber glove sector, the loss is estimated at 13.2 billion ringgit Malaysia. And during the pandemic, around 109,000 undocumented plantation workers have been deported to their home countries under the Immigration's Recalibration Program. And for sure, these illegal workers might be among the vulnerable group for human trafficking cases. And to address the labor shortage issue in the oil palm industry, the government had given special approval to recruit 32,000 foreign workers as a pilot project to bring in these workers to the country. And currently, the industry players are still waiting for the comprehensive SOP and guidelines to be released by the Ministry of Human Resources. Distinguished guests, to show the government's seriousness on TIP issue with the efforts of MAPO office under Puan Shuhaida, as well as all government agencies and NGOs, the Home Ministry had launched the NAPTIP 3.0 on March this year to eradicate human trafficking in the country. And as a ministry, we applaud and fully support the effort by KDN, as the National Action Plan is a strategic document outlining all plannings and effort to eradicate human trafficking in Malaysia over the next 5 years. Our ministry, MPIC, has also been working closely with ILO to combat forced labor and child labor issues. And the final report of the employment survey in oil palm plantation Malaysia 2018 has been published and presented to the government and was submitted to the US Department of Labor in 2020. Based on the survey findings, the prevalence rate is low, but it still shows that forced labor do exist in the oil palm sector. And by conducting the survey, it also shows that the commitment from the government to combat forced labor in the country. Starting from 2020, the ministry, with the support of Malaysian Palm Oil Board, MPOB, has initiated a series of roadshows to engage with the plantation players, including the smallholders. And it is a collaborative effort with the ILO, KSM, KDN to ensure that the information given during the roadshow is comprehensive and covers all aspects of labor-related matters. And the Malaysian government has always maintained a firm stand on the issue of forced labor and child labor, and we need to identify the real issue behind the allegations and committed to find the best solutions towards the sustainable of the palm oil and agri-commodity industry. Therefore, I believe with this effort, UNM would also be able to run this specific project to assist the industry players in combating TIP issue, including forced labor and child labor in Malaysia, and further enhance our commodity reputation. Distinguished guests, the ministry would like to reiterate that Malaysia is committed towards a sustainable practices in the palm oil industry throughout the supply chain, from the upstream to the downstream sectors. This is in line with the Sustainable Development Goals SDG 2030 under the UN initiative. Malaysia has made significant efforts to develop a sustainable oil palm sector, supporting the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO, and also introducing our own Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Scheme, MSPO, championed by MPOCC. And the main purpose of MSPO is to get the entire industry, large plantations and smallholders to adopt more sustainable practices in the industry throughout the supply chain from the upstream to the downstream sectors. The ministry also hoped that the TIP project under UNM could increase advocacy by workers and civil society to address forced labor, increase workers' voice in the implementation of social compliance system aimed at eliminating forced labor, and finally increase access to remedies for workers exploited for forced labor. Your Excellency and ladies and gentlemen, with that note, on behalf of MPIC, I wish that the UNN team will succeed with the project, and we also encourage the relevant industry players to participate in the upcoming training by UNM, and looking forward for the positive outcomes. Thank you very much. Back to you, Dr. Julia.
Thank you so much, Tuan Shahnas. Those are concerning figures that you highlighted for us. I wanted to thank you even further for stressing on the ministry's commitment to tackling the issues of forced labor, to highlighting how you cooperate with relevant agencies such as MAPO and ministries, also stressing on NAPTIP as one of the latest efforts, as well as your commitment as a ministry, as a part of the Malaysian government in eradicating instances of forced labor in Malaysia and overall improving the image of Malaysian industries in the world market. Thank you so much for your presentation. And I would like to introduce our next speaker in the program, Mr. Simon Selvaraj, the Senior Manager at the Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank MPOCC for their engagement and collaboration on this project, which we are hoping, again, would be a productive one. And it's not only that we gathered all of you today for the launch of this project to introduce it, but to get your support in the course of the project as we are going to run it, as well as a wider engagement in this area. Mr. Simon Selvaraj, are you here, if I may invite you to the scene?
Thanks, Julia. Can you hear me?
Yeah, not sure if we can see you, but.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So thanks, Julia. So hello, everyone. Welcome for today's launching, and warm greeting to His Excellency Charles Hay, British High Commissioner in Malaysia, and Dr. Karmatashi, Assistant Professor, and to all respected speakers, ladies and gentlemen. We in MPOCC appreciate such efforts of the University of Nottingham for being proactive and taking efforts to spread the awareness on trafficking in person in Malaysia, and efforts to eradicate modern slavery and to provide equality. And I'm happy to see that British High Commission joined hand with the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, with their International Program Fund for the training sessions. The economic value of slaves is obvious enough, which has created a huge demand for the labor and the triangle trade. Trafficking networks have gone global, and International Labour Organization, ILO, has reported millions of people around the world are victims of forced labor and extreme exploitation. So even if we instinctively struggle to admit its existence, we cannot turn our backs to those victims of trafficking. Therefore, it's greatly applaudable that the Malaysian government, through its initiative, has formulated a sustainability standard, MSPO. The Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Standards were trying to make a sustainable culture in the palm oil industry. So in MPOCC, the scheme governance and the national accreditations works in different ways, where MPOCC as a scheme owner is governed by a 13-member board of trustees. which consists of oil palm industries associations, academic and R&D institutes, smallholders organization, government, NGOs, and civil society. And under the accreditation of the certification bodies, Standards Malaysia as a national accreditation body involves, and as we engage the third party, the certification bodies, the Standards Malaysia will have the full control on the monitoring and also bodies. So here we have 3 stages where the MSPO standards is is formulated or is developed by Standards Malaysia under the MS category, and the accreditation is actually monitored by the accreditation division of Standards Malaysia as well. And we as a certification scheme owner, we monitor and we set the directions how we will achieve on certain critical issues and address all the sustainability issues as per the UN SDG and so on. So how do we address the MSPO? How do we address the forced labor in MSPO? As some of you may be aware that the revision of the current MSPO draft standard is in progress. And we have actually incorporated certain terms and definitions and requirements which can highlight on certain terms like debt bondage. For example, like bonded labor reflects on imbalance in power between the worker debtor and the employer creditor. So, and also a forced labor, which refers to work or service which has exacted from any person under the menace of any penalty, or for which said person has not offered him or herself voluntary. The indicators of forced labors like abuse of vulnerability, deception, restriction of movement, isolation, physical, sexual violence, and so on. And of course, on triangular employment, a triangular employment arrangement is a situation where the employer, the agency, arranges for the employee's placement or assignment with a third party controlling the third parties. So with this, we, as a part of the MSPO standard requirement, the standard enforce that there shall be a policy on respecting human rights to demonstrate the organization's commitment. And in line with this policy, the organization, which is the certificate holder, shall have the employment conditions comply with the legal requirements and the ILO decent work agenda. And no forms of forced or traffic labor as well as child labor are used. And any forms of discrimination and harassment is prohibited, and triangular employment arrangements are practiced in line with employment conditions with the legal requirement and also ILO decent work agenda. So in this case, the organization shall also ensure there is no retaliation against human rights defenders and whistleblowers. With that, I think this CHIP project will assist in actually detecting any issues on forced labors in palm oil industry. So with that, I would like to reiterate that MPOCC as a scheme owner will not tolerate any kind of form of forced labor, and we will not hesitate to take any stern action against the MSPO standard violation if those activities are detected in any of the palm oil entities. So with that, MPOCC is delighted to work with the TIP project and to enhance and monitor our certification bodies and the auditors' competencies. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much to Mr. Simon Salvarez of MPOCC, and thank you for the MPOCC's support in this project, for the words of your support and for your commitment to it, as we also place very high importance in the engagement of all the relevant stakeholders. So we are counting on your support in the course of the project as well. Thank you so much. Next, I think it's going to be one of our last, but by far not the least speakers in this project launch. Let me share my screen. And I can see Dr. Supra's colleagues being present in numbers here today. So I would like to introduce to you the president of the Malaysian Rubber Glove Manufacturing Association, MARGMA. I can see on my screen colleagues from MARGMA attending this launch in numbers. Thank you for your support and for coming for this launch. We've been maintaining close collaboration with MARGMA on this project, and we also are hoping for this to, together with all the other relevant stakeholders, including ministries and certification bodies present here, for it to yield significant results. Dr. Supra, if I may invite you to say a few words. Dr. Supramanian Shanmugam, President of MARGMA. You're on the screen.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Firstly, could I extend my congratulations to His Excellency, the High Commissioner UK, for putting this together. We first and foremost started working with the High Commission in terms of giving them updates exactly as to where we are on this journey of social compliance. And out of this came across this whole situation of getting a funding from the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of UK, supported by the UK High Commission, and the ball being carried by the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. We look forward to this. We are indeed delighted to be a co-player in this whole situation. And the topic itself talks about manufacturing and oil palm, but certainly close to 195 countries worldwide, with 65% of the global gloves coming from Malaysia. We certainly are under a microscope in terms of social compliance. Consumers are much more aware, and they now become much more demanding. Hence, the pressure is on us to basically make sure that we are up to the mark in terms of social compliance. The industry, which consists of 65 members, is totally dedicated towards this, and we would make it our objective to use this social compliance as a unique selling proposition, USP, over and above the various other unique propositions we have in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, in terms of delivery on time, as well as price competitive. Focused for us from the University of Nottingham would be good because it talks of sensitizing. And I think that's the key word to be used, because we find that while we go through our internal audits in terms of social compliance, we go through customer audits as they come to Malaysia to visit us. We go through third-party audits, and we also go through the Ministry of Human Resources kind of supplies checks and audits. So we have 4 to 5 different levels, and yet we do find there are shortcomings in terms of our understanding of the social compliance issues. So I think this particular situation of sensitizing employer on recruitment processes, as well as to train the third-party auditors and internal auditors, would be a great way forward, so that we have a common yardstick or measure in terms of what is social compliance from the auditor perspective, as well as from the employer's perspective. And we welcome this particular exercise. I want to thank MPOCC, MAPO, MSPO, and MPIC, as well as my colleagues in the MAPO itself who form part of the task force on social compliance, to work together with this on this. From the glove industry's perspective, we have a code of conduct. We have also ensured that all members pursue a journey of SEDEX META audit. And we also have undertaken that when the markets are open to recruit foreign workers again, which we expect and we hope to be very soon, we all ensure that it is zero recruitment fees. Now, what happens in the situation of workers who are still in debts? We have embarked on a massive exercise of remediation. And as I mentioned earlier in some other forums, we have to date paid out close to about 600 to 650 million ringgit in terms of remediation to sort out these old debts which the worker claimed they owe still. And over and above that, we have engaged with IOM, especially in IRIS, to look at what can we do on ethical recruitment practices. Because is overcharged in terms of his fees, and then he gets into Malaysia and he has to now keep working just to pay up his debts. So if we have ethical recruitment practices, then this question of overcharging does not occur. And whatever fees that are visible on a country-to-country basis, we as employers have agreed to take care of that in terms of zero recruitment fees. Magma has gone one step further now to ensure we have an ESG unit within our organization. And we have brought in a very experienced person to be the ESG director, Ms. Grija Menon. And she has now developed her own team. And we have 3 more additions to this ESG unit. Our role is, while we sensitize and educate the manufacturers out there, 65 manufacturers out there, we also want to make sure that we also play a role of monitoring. And push come to a shove, given enough time over a period of the next 1 to 2 years, we would like to make a membership of this Magma association contingent upon the fact that one is socially compliant. And that would be the way we like to move forward in terms of having a tight control over this particular industry. We brought in earnings of close to about 36 billion last year. And we think we will close our books for having a workforce that's about 70,000 workers, and also a huge ecosystem, maybe a 4 to 5-fold multiple in terms of number of employees in the ecosystem itself, which sustains this particular industry. And we are proud to say that despite the fact that the raw materials does not come solely from Malaysia, if you look at it, about 95% of the natural latex comes from across the border. And you also look at it, about 70 to 80% of the synthetic raw material comes from overseas. It is our manufacturing entrepreneurship that has taken us to this level. Now that we have honed our skills well in terms of manufacturing, it is time for us to now hone our skills in terms of ensuring the social compliances that goes along with the manufacturing in terms of treatment of the workers itself. On that note, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I thank this particular initiative supported by the sector, in particular to the glove industry. Thank you once again. You can rest assured we will fully immerse ourselves in this whole project, either by way of participation or by way of giving you the right kind of data so that we can move to the next level onwards. On that note, thank you, and over to you, Julia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supra, and again to you personally and to Magma's support on this. I can't stress enough how important it is for us engagement of all the key stakeholders. And I'm grateful that you mentioned this expression of sensitizing or resensitizing the manufacturers, as it is also part of our project. And after this, Dr. Karma is going to tell you a little bit more. It's not only about the trainings for internal and external auditors, but also about, as we diplomatically put it, sensitizing the industry. And we are thankful to your participation and active engagement on this. I think that really matters, and that is what will help us to achieve success. Thank you to Dr. Supra and to Magma. which again came to support this launch numerously today, to all the members. I think we are closing to the ends of this launch. However, before we adjourn, I would like to pass the word back to my colleague and the project lead, Dr. Karma, who would like to share with you more on those trainings that we are planning. In fact, we're still finalizing the program, but it is out there, and Dr. Karma will be able to share more with you on what we are going to do in the course of the trainings, who possible trainers are, and what we're going to do in terms of sensitizing the representatives of the industry. Dr. Karma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Can anyone confirm whether you can see the screen, my slide on the screen?
Yes.
Yep, we can
Thank you.
see your screen.
Thank you very much. Okay. Basically, the scope of the trainings will involve issues related to forced labor. So just to give you a gist of what we intend to train the auditors and also to sensitize company representatives is on very basic things, but at the same time, we also have got other things like labor laws and NAPTIP, the National Action Plan for Trafficking in Persons, and ATIP-SOM also, which is our legislation related to forced labor. So we are looking at retention of identity documents or passports, and then also recruitment fees, yeah, by recruitment agents. So we will have recruitment agents coming in to conduct the trainings, as well as experts from who on ethical recruitment. We're all looking at contract substitution in the country of origin and destination country, and decent work conditions, pay and work conditions, such as involuntary overtime, lack of freedom of workers to resign, and many other issues. And last but not least is actually debt bondage, yeah, and the withholding of wages and virtual slavery. And also on minor issues, but very important, such as absence of labor policy to inform workers of their labor rights and inappropriate languages. So sensitivity of the language, having contracts or policies in languages which are not understood by migrant workers is also a pressing problem. So we are also going to have that in our trainings, which is basically modeled after social auditing standards. So here we are. We are finally unveiling our series of trainings. So we plan to start on next Friday on the 19th of November, an overview of trafficking in persons, which will be conducted by the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, in collaboration with the UK, our UK counterparts, and followed by understanding the dynamics of trafficking in persons in the manufacturing and oil palm industry. We also have a session on ethical recruitment from academics as well as recruitment agents, followed by on the 30th of November, we plan to have legislation. Yeah, so we are looking at Employment Act and elements of forced labor, the ATIP-SOM, and NAPTIP also. And we have a recent what they call that tabling of the ATIP-SOM in Parliament. So we're also going to look at what are the latest additions in relation to forced labor and supply chain. That's something very new. And then on the 3rd of December, we'll invite ILO, tentatively the date, to talk to us about the various ILO conventions on decent work and forced labor. Because all of our social audit standards is related to decent work and forced labor are all grounded in ILO convention, as already mentioned by our distinguished speakers this morning. And then we will invite certification bodies to talk to us about social compliances for all standards, and also RSPO and MSPO standards. So because we are going to have the rubber glove manufacturing industry and other industries, as well as the oil palm industry in one session, like for example, the company representatives all these industries will come together. So therefore, we will touch on the various standards so that the industry can learn from one another what is in each other's standard. So then it will also enhance understanding. And also we are, one of the reasons why we are also grouping them together, all these different industry players, is because we want to enhance networking and partnerships across industries also, so that we can learn from best practices of each industry. And then in terms of our auditing trainings, so we have effective detection of incidences of trafficking in persons, discussing case studies that we proposed on the 8th of December, and also reporting of non-conformities. Auditors generally, the first problem is that the difficulty in detecting the incidences of forced labor, and followed by other problems during auditing, like for example, the wording of non-conformities, corrective action requests, and also finally the reporting. So these trainings are all going to be conducted online. There are also other trainings, like sharing from members of the industry, on mitigation of forced labor in the rubber glove manufacturing industry, as well as from the oil palm industry. So you want to strike a balance between these two industries and their sharing of best practices. And our grand finale would be on 17th of December, but this is a tentative date. We are hoping to complete all our trainings by Christmas. We would like to end our trainings with a Q&A session with a panel of experts comprising civil society organizations, industry, as well as representatives from various ministries and academia to come together and in a sharing session, Q&A session, titled Achieving Compliance in Industry Towards Zero Incidences of Forced Labor. Well, it's a very ambitious target, but it will be achieved sooner or later. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing all of you at the training, and Alia, our research assistant, will send you, will paste the link in our chat, in the Zoom chat today. And we will also be sending follow-up emails to all our stakeholders and partners, and to whoever who is interested, the members of the public civil society organizations, if they would like to also participate in our trainings. Of course, the first priority will go to industry players and certification bodies and auditors. So with this, I thank you. And if there are any questions related to the training or our project, we'll be very happy to answer them. Thank you so much. Back to you, Julia. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Karma, for introducing the project to us a little bit further. So I hope our guests get an idea of what we're trying to do. To adjourn, I would also like to add that, as Dr. Karma just said, that we are in the course of the project, we are cooperating with all the relevant stakeholders, including the civil society organizations, which are already engaged, even though they are not present today amongst the speakers. Also, the one representation that is missing with us today is the Ministry of Human Resources, who are also engaging. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today, but they are also engaging into the project with us, together with other ministries. On this note, I think I would like to thank all our speakers and guests for today, His Excellency British High Commissioner Charles Hay, representatives of the ministries, MPIC, MOHR, MAPO, Ms. Shohaida and her colleagues, MARGMA, MPOCC, and other guests and bodies represented in here. By adjourning, I mean that all our guests who are interested in knowing further about the project, participating in the project, please follow the instructions that Dr. Karma just suggested and Ms. Alia is, I think, sharing with you right now in the chat. And we would like to invite the media and those who have their questions further about the project to stay in the same chat room. For all our other guests, would once again like to thank you for attending the event today, and we hope that with those of you who would be interested and who would benefit from this collaboration, we will meet more, not only for this launch. Thank you so much. And I think we are having a little bit of tighter company. We have our colleagues from Margma, including Girija Menon staying with us, Professor Andy Chan, the Vice Provost of the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, also staying to support us for the press conference, and our colleagues from the British High Commission. For all our other guests, we are saying goodbye, but we are hoping for future collaboration. Thank you so much.
I think Mr. Alex from Migrant Care had his hand up just now.
Yeah, I think I saw it just now.
That's right.
Okay.
Mr. Alex also stay with us. Any questions we can answer to you and to the members of the media here, please, you can count on.
Yeah, can I speak now? Yeah, actually, I like to bring to the attention of the organizer. First and foremost, when Dr. Karma was mentioning about on her opening statement, using the word accusation of the forced labor and all this thing, perhaps I can suggest that this is a phenomena, not an accusation. That at least it has to be linguistically sensitive, to the NGO as well as the labor movement activism. And then the other part is actually when I look into the scenario, it's actually very much on the employer, like employer, what we call inclination. There's lack of what we call speaker from the union as well as other activist community itself. Perhaps if we just what we call perform this type of program without the participation of the other stakeholder other than the employer fraternity, I think that wouldn't bring any effective solution to overcome the situation. And then as far as the what we call the outline of the program itself is very interesting. And then we believe that that could at least like benefit to all the participants. However, to those people who are at least deeply involved in the case situation itself, that is also lack of the element of the business model that has been used by the current employer to ensure their sustainability of their profitability. That could be also another challenging what we call topic that at least should be introduced inside there. And then there is also lack of the what we call the involvement of the monitoring and evaluations of the policy as well as the street level bureaucrat practices. I think that is also equally important in contributing to the trafficking in person and human smuggling activity itself. Perhaps this is just my humble suggestion, is that the outline itself is very interesting, but it can be enhanced through the additional what we call content rather than the traditional content, which is actually who says so, what is written as so, but it has to be more pragmatic and holistic in addressing to the current phenomena situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex, for your kind suggestions. We are still in the process of refining our trainings, and we will definitely take into consideration your suggestions. And I hope that you have registered with us so that we can discuss and with you, and then and refine our proposal in the future. I mean, our trainings in the future. So thank you so much. And also I would like to thank you for pointing out also the use of language. Yeah, and I do agree. And I also thank you for your guidance.
I also wanted to thank Mr. Alex for his kind suggestions in terms of language sensitivity and also wider engagement. From our side, I wanted to assure you that even though, as I mentioned, probably you haven't seen the direct representatives of CSOs in the panel for today, but nevertheless, we are already engaging with the relevant representatives of civil society organizations who are deeply involved in the issues of forced labor and trafficking in persons. And in fact, some of them were present at today's launch. It's just some were not able to make it for speaking. And with some, the nature of our engagements, of course, it goes far beyond, extends far beyond this launch today. So we are in collaboration in terms of data collection as well, which civil society organizations are helping us. And some of us here in this small but very intense project team are also having CSO background. We are actively using our connections, our networks, and we would like to have you on board as well on this. Thank you so much. I also wanted to mention, I already said that representatives of MARCMA, including Dr. Supra, staying with us. We also have Mr. Anil, Mr. Hugh, and Mr. Chan, and also Ms. Girija Menon with us from MARCMA. So if any of you have questions to MARCMA in particular, also to our colleagues in the British High Commission, and Mr. Law as well, to the British High Commission, or to us at the University of Nottingham, or our Vice Provost, Andy Chan, who is here with us as well. Please do not hesitate to ask.
Can I?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Dennis Law would like to speak.
I am from MARCMA. So fundamentally, I think the president of MARCMA, Dr. Subramaniam, has said a lot of things. And the rubber glove industry is committed to total ESG compliance. We will take this commitment very seriously, and definitely we will rise to the occasion. Yeah. But coming back to the university that's conducting a lot of research and a lot of effort put in to ensure total compliance, it is fine and good that so many conditions are set for the proper employment of migrant workers. Now, it would certainly be good for every employer and employees of any manufacturing concern that there should also be a set of rules for both employer and employees in regard to discipline and the proper conduct of the migrant workers too. Now, we are looking at one side of the spectrum, meaning to say what the employers have to behave in order to be totally compliable. But what happens if the discipline is not there? Now, this is where in your studies, you should look at this aspect to look at what conduct or what proper conduct that an employee should actually conduct himself in the employment of the industry. So very often you hear that a lot of abuse by the workers on the industry itself, but most time you only hear the other aspect that the employer is abusing the workers, but there could also be the other aspect of things. Now, in your study, it will be very much obliged if you can also put into your study to look at the other spectrum, the discipline and the conduct of the workers vis-a-vis in the employment of their being in Malaysia. Yeah, so definitely we think that when that is put in place, then everyone will know where they stand and how they ought to behave. Just like all the glove manufacturers, they must have a code of conduct. They must ensure proper compliance to all the ethics and to all the conditions set forth by the 11 pillars. And therefore, we also hope that the workers themselves also play a part so that both of us can prosper and prosper together in the scheme of things and in our livelihood. Yeah. And now that under the ILO and so other auspices, the union can be formed by the workers or their representative as well. Yeah. Now, when you talk about the rights of the workers and the rights of the individuals, do we now agree to the fact that if they have representation to the industry, that they themselves form a union, that they themselves come forward to say that what is their rights as an individual? Are their rights being dictated by the ILO, by the activists, or by anybody? Why can't they dictate the way they want to work? Meaning to say it is their life, it is their livelihood, and if they want to work that extra hours or even work on their off days, it is their right, it is their fundamental rights, it is their being and it is their livelihood. It is not the ILO, it's not the activists that's going to feed them or their family or send their children to school. What happens if they are out of job, or what happens if they don't have enough income? So this is a question always been put to us by the union themselves or by their representative. So in your conduct and in your study of this aspect, please look into all these aspects as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your suggestions.
Okay, the Miss Karma and Miss Julia, I'm Hugh from Magma again. Just to tell you, I'm actually from Top Glove. So Top Glove, you know, had been placed under the WRO for CPP USA. So we did a lot of things. We learned a lot of things from this this happening. We even appointed impact. I'm sure Miss Julia, Karma, and the British High Commissioner know impact. Impact is a very good third-party independent auditors. So I suggest University of Nottingham, you all can study, work with impact or contact impact to see how our glove industry in Malaysia, how we fare in terms of ESG, in terms of how we treat our workers, compared to many other countries, you know. We in Malaysia, as a matter of fact, do not want to ill-treat our foreign workers. It is also always in our heart that we want to treat our workers decently as a human right. So a lot of issues are brought out by the social media are all over exaggerated. They only listen to one side or two sides of the story. They add fires, add hot oil onto all the substances. So I think University of Nottingham been an academician, very well-known university in the world, very well-known in UK. I myself graduated from UK, one of the universities in UK. UK is a well-respected country in terms of human rights, democracy, a good governance. So look at the picture as a whole. That is what we want to say. Don't just look at somebody who always want to stir up the fire. Look at the story from the employer point of view. There are a lot of workers because of a certain thing they are not happy. They add salt into the injury. Right? So I think it's good Nottingham University has started to do all these things, and we even welcome you. Please compare your references to impact. Impact, they really take a very, very detailed and comprehensive audit on the ILO 11 indicators. You can get a lot of references from them. Thank you. That's all I want to say. On behalf of Magma, on behalf of my company, and on behalf of all the glove manufacturers in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hugh, representing Top Glove and Magma. We will do our best as an academic institution to do justice to all the parties involved, because it is an academic, in academic institutions, we emphasize on academic objectivity. So, and we definitely will look into all aspects before coming to any conclusion in our research. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh. I would also, from our side, would like to assure you that, as I think I said in my response to Mr. Alex here, that we are engaging with all the relevant stakeholders on both sides of the spectrum, on the side of the spectrum represented by the manufacturers, as well as on the other side of the spectrum represented by the most vocal representatives of civil society, the critics of industry as well, to whom I believe you indirectly referred in your speech as well, without calling the names.
And to add
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind understanding. Thank you.
And to add further to this topic, I would also like to draw attention to our last session, the Q&A session, which is scheduled tentatively on the 17th of December, where we are actually inviting the various stakeholders to come in one platform and to interact with one another in the Q&A forum. So this is how we envision collaboration, between all the different parties to bring everyone closer. First step from our side towards collaborating with everyone in a single platform in one single session, and we are very excited to hear all the views during that one session, and we are sure that we will be able to get various perspectives and try and will understand better the whatever challenges that are facing every different stakeholders. So this is one of the reasons why we have actually drafted that last session. So I sincerely hope that all participants here and also members of MAGMA will be present, and also we are extending our invitation to civil society organizations as well as ministries and MAPO to be in the same platform where we can share our ideas and perhaps even debate on many aspects of forced labor within the industry. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, maybe from the media? Thank you.
Certainly, I think we are looking forward to this whole situation of working together with you guys. But sure, yes, there seems to be a lot of gaps and discrepancies between what the industry wants and what the employees want and what the activists out there want, kind of thing. So as we go through your training program, I think you will get a much better chance to work with us in a very intimate fashion, to understand exactly our concerns and things like that. To point out one situation, if union or association of the workers is be all and all, then I think the union will start saying we want to work 12 hours every day, because that's how we get enough money to take home, kind of thing. I mean, that's the kind of situation looking at, and I can see where Dennis came from on that particular way of how do we manage those situations. But yes, I think what is needed is, as we go along this journey, by the third or fourth session, today itself, I think we have already figured out a couple of situations we need to work on. But as you go through your sessions, you've got three different sessions, each one having 4 to 5 different programs. I think you would be able to understand us much better and come up with something that would work for the three entities, which is basically the employers on one side, the employees on the other side, and obviously the third party NGOs who are watching both the behavior, in particular the behavior of the employers, but I think eventually they should also look at the behavior of the employees in time to come, because social compliance is basically a two-way thing.
I can attest to that, because in my experiences in the field, being an auditor, social auditor for 15 years, and I definitely can understand where industry is coming from. At the same time, I can also understand where the workers are coming from and the civil society organizations, because I have been on the ground, and I'm also a recent migrant to academia. So I've been working in industry for 20 years also, and I bring into academia my experiences from the field, as well. I also have got some civil society organization background. So I'm not entirely an academic, pure academic, but I have these various different backgrounds that I'm bringing into the project. So I will try my level best to make it beneficial for all the parties involved. Thank you so much for your kind suggestions. I really appreciate it. And I'm learning a lot from this session itself, and look forward to more interactions with all of you.
That's very comforting, Professor. That's very comforting that you have seen both sides of the equation here.
Right.
I think, in fact, in the team, all of us who are coming not purely from academic background, but also from CSO background.
Yes, you should look at the Bollywood, you know, a lot of migrant workers, they sometimes over-exaggerate, sometimes can be melodramatic as well. So we have to look at both sides, yeah.
That's right. Are there any questions from media representatives that you wanted to ask us, our colleagues at the British High Commission, our colleagues at Magma here, or
there's a question in the chat, Julia, regarding the trainings, which I would like to answer if I may,
yeah,
but I suddenly cannot see the question. Let me see. The last question. Can Alia read it to me, please? I just can't see
sure.
it.
Is it the one on how will the trainings differ from those conducted by auditor firms like Verity, especially on the trainings for auditors to better identify forced labor practices?
Okay, just give me a second. Okay. How will the trainings differ from those conducted by auditor firms? Okay, basically we are not going to cross into the domain of certification bodies and also those who are conducting lead auditor training courses and all. So definitely not. But we are only focusing on one aspect, which is forced labor, because in social compliances there are various aspects related to pay and work conditions. We are focusing mainly on the detection of forced labor. So anything that has any even the slightest link to forced labor, we are going to do case studies to sensitize the auditors on only forced labor aspects, trafficking in persons. So we definitely we are not replicating any lead auditor course or any other auditor training. That's for sure, yeah. I'm very well aware because I also run auditor training courses. So we will not replicate that. So forced labor only.
Okay, Miss Karma and Miss Julia, here again from Magma. One thing we realize, I'm talking about in top level. So the remediation fees, we paid $100 million to the workers. These are all fully paid, documented with the bank slip and all these things. So when we have done all the things as per what CPP require, finally they ask us one thing, you know. They say they want to further verify the payment. And then they want us to appoint an independent financial auditor. So this is very funny, but we have no choice. We have to appoint a financial auditor, you know, on top of the social auditor to verify our remediation fees payment. My question is, all these payments are through bank, and the workers really got all the payment. We were actually quite puzzled. Why they request another financial auditors to come into this sort of picture? So I think this is something I think worthwhile for you all to study, to look into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Mr. Hugh. Okay, there's another question, Julia, if I may. It's just a thought by one of the by SP Lim from Eco Mediglove. Would it be good to invite social activists to join Q&A on so that all will be in the same platform going forward? Yes, we actually have that in plan, yeah. The various stakeholders social activists, civil society organizations, and also we just in the Q&A, the last one where everybody would be hearing different opinions. So we as an academic institution will moderate, University of Nottingham will moderate all the different opinions and try to keep everybody in harmony during the discussion. But we will learn a lot from one another in the last session. Thank you so much. So there's another question by Danya, BFM. Julia?
Yeah, there is a question coming from BFM, if I may. Question from Margma. Are there concerns on how the rubber glove industry is being portrayed, given that 5 Malaysian firms have faced bans over alleged forced labor practices, and on its long-term impact on the rubber glove industry? I don't know if it's Mr. Anil from Social Compliance or anyone else from Margma who would take this question.
Yeah, I think we have said enough on this at various forums. The same question has popped up, and certainly we have got a policy, a long-term policy, a blueprint for the industry. I would suggest it's a mouthful. I would suggest that BFM can contact us, and we can actually give them a special purview on this, so that we do not digress too much from today's topic itself, which is essentially talking about sensitizing employer recruitment practices and so forth. Yeah. So is that okay with the BFM, Danya? Can you just then drop me a note, and we'll give you a nice write-up on what are we doing on this. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, Danya, or either via us, or you can contact Dr. Supra and Margma directly. I think there is another question from the Malaysian Reserve. Can any panelists share your views on how critical is forced labor in Malaysia, and what is the main factor that drives this issue? It's from Anis at the Malaysian Reserve. Would anyone like to take this up? How critical is forced labor in Malaysia, and what is the main factor that drives this issue? Anyone from Margma, or maybe our colleagues at MAPO, if anyone would like to take this up? I can see some are still with us.
I think one of the most critical situation is now, are we in a position to apply the same standards of social compliance across the board over all kinds of sectors of industry in this country itself? And I know when we started off looking at remediation and things like that, there were already a lot of murmurs out there within the industry, within the manufacturing industry, that now how are the others going to do it? Because we talk about not only the glove industry, we talk about manufacturing industry having maybe tens of hundreds of different segments of manufacturing industry that employs foreign workers. Rubber glove industry alone employs only 40,000 foreign workers. But if you look at the overall number of foreign workers being employed in this country, in the furniture, in the E&E and the oil palm, and so many other subsectors out there. Certainly the MOHR has now to play a role in this whole thing to ensure that there does not seem to be a huge discrepancy between what's being done by one particular industry as opposed to so many other industries out there, kind of thing. And that would be one of the most critical factors that needs to be resolved. Otherwise, Malaysia as a country would seem like a situation where some segments of the industries are taking care of social compliance in a very serious fashion, yet others could get away with it. And mind you, social compliance applies to whether you are in the domestic market or even the export market. Right now, the focus is only for the export market because that's where the visibility is in terms of the Western world and so many other NGO and activists out there. What about the domestic supply? What about the construction industry? What about the service industry? So I think the criticality of it is at this point in time quite convoluted, I must say. Yeah, but we do know one thing, the focus areas at this point in time is the oil palm and certainly the glove boys, and we want to be in the forefront trying to manage it. I would not have an answer exactly how critical it is on the other segments because I would not want to comment about them being not in their field. But rest assured that at least these 2 boys who are being focused on, or 2 or 3 boys, including furniture in time to come, we would be on board trying to get a handle of this and steering this particular industry to the right level in terms of social compliance. Thank you.
May I also,
Yes, Anil.
take a stab at this question? What are the key issues? I think one of the key issues of forced labor is a lack of agreements between the destination country and the source country. And Magma and other industries have been urging the government to ensure that they have a G2G agreement that clearly sets out the patterns, the employment terms, the costs on both ends of the recruitment corridor. But that has not happened. So anything that the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and the NGOs and CSOs can do is to urge the government to have these agreements signed with the source countries of migrant workers. That too would eliminate to a large extent the problems of forced labor. So that would be our suggestion, and one of the answers to the question raised by the Malaysian Reserve gentleman.
Thank you to Dr. Supra and Mr. Anil for taking up this question. I still wanted to give an opportunity if any of our colleagues here from MAPO or any other relevant industries would like to comment. I have Dr. Ravi in there. Can see. So I'm sure many of us have a lot to say beyond the questions asked. I just wanted to give an opportunity if any of our colleagues, maybe no self-initiative or anyone else would like to comment on this. Not only the industry players. I guess they're saving it for later when we can have a elaborate discussion on this. But I also do welcome and support the suggestion voiced in the chat and by some of our colleagues, by voice, I think, by Mr. Alex, that we need to meet up all together, and if the industry players are all right with facing the CSOs and working on effective and productive solutions, that's exactly what we were intending to do. We have a question from Adrian Pereira, No South Initiative. How will we consolidate national laws versus ILO standards versus private audit? If we treat them as separate entities, we will be caught in a cycle. How we consolidate national laws versus ILO standards versus private audit, which I guess diverge significantly if we put all of them together. It wouldn't be a consolidated body of regulations between national laws, ILO standards, and private audit. Or Adrian, if you would like to elaborate on your question further.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, so I'm just an observer in the labor rights scene in Malaysia. So in some of my work with the companies, the expectations of employers are very different from what, say, for example, what CBP is trying to impose. And of course, like what was shared by our friends in the glove industry, the workers have another set of expectations. So if we don't look at this as a package, I'm just afraid that, the employers will have to divide themselves into so many, buckets and address them separately. So just thinking of a silver bullet, how can we have a one-stop or one-off solution to address the issue? Just asking out of curiosity. Thanks.
again, if anyone from MAPO, from MPIC would like to comment on this.
I think Dr. Julia may be the right person to answer is from MOHR, KSM, because they are the one who did the policy. But I agree with Adrian. When we look at ILO 11 indicators of forced labor, actually, it trapped the employer as well because some of the elements were unavoidable. For example, when we look at the retention of identity or documents like passport and everything, actually the employer just want to make sure that the workers belong to them, and when they keep the document, it will make sure that the workers won't go to the other company as well. And another thing is that bondage, and it is out of control because it actually happened in the source country, and when the workers arrive in Malaysia, only then the employer found that the workers are involved in the debt bondage. So it is something that maybe we have to look into as well in terms of ILO indicators on forced labor, because some of the forced labor element is quite strict, and it is very difficult for employer to follow. Like one example that I can give is excessive working and living condition. Even the employer try their best to provide the best accommodation, but then it is still not up to the standard of ILO. And even for excessive overtime, even the workers are willingly to work overtime, but then in terms of the national law, they are not really comply to the duration of the working time among the workers. So that's another element that maybe we have to look into in terms of the element of a forced labor indicator under ILO. Yeah, that's my opinion, Dr. Julia.
Thank you, Tuan Shahnas. If anyone else has something to join, unfortunately, MOHR are not with us today, but they will be engaged in the course of the project. So hopefully we'll engage them on this as well. I think Mr. Alex, he had a question, sorry, that we overlooked. And Mr. Alex On, you wanted to ask?
Yes. Very good morning again to you, Tuan Shahnas. At least currently we are more focused on the rubber industry. Now I like to bring people towards the plantation upstream industry itself. As what I can see from the previous what we call statement from Mr. Shahnas is that we have 141,000 plantation worker. Am I right, Tuan Shahnas?
141,000. That one is documented, the legal one. Actually, we have more on the illegal workers, but that one is not reported.
Okay, Tuan Shahnas, I just like to probably maybe I'm wrong, but from my record, from the immigration record, right? We have 273,079 people working in the plantation area. That include the rubber. That is from the immigration's 2019 statistic. Yeah.
That one is 2019. The data that we get from immigration is 141,000 as of September 2021.
Oh, okay.
The official data from Immigration Department.
Oh, that's great.
Yes,
however,
that's right. That's the latest one.
Yeah, actually, realistically, do you think that by having 6 million hectares of oil palm plantation, we have sufficient labor to do the harvesting job for 6 million hectares? Do you think that is possible?
According to the industry player, it is not enough. But then we are trying our level best to to attract the local workers to go into the harvesting job. But then we try many efforts. We do the job fair, but then there is still no response from the local people. So we end up, having the industry going into trouble, and then they ask for more labors from the foreign workers. So when we ask for the government to give special approval, and last week we managed to get 32,000. And I think there is still not enough for the industry player, but yeah, we just play around the number first, and we see how the industry player can do.
May I have a small proposal to you, Tuan Shahnas? Actually, if you look into the Sabah environment, we have about 1.5 million hectares of oil palm plantation.
Okay.
Based on the estate owner association, for every 7 hectare, we need 1 worker.
Mm-hmm.
So if based on 1.5 million, Sabah alone need about 300,000 plantation worker. But on the record, it's only less than 55,000. So we can see there's a big gap of close to 200,000 gap there. So that is actually what is contributing to the sustainability of the upstream is actually through the fulfillment of the human smuggling and human trafficking victims who are in there. And our main concern is actually when they allow the children to be brought into Sabah. So we are actually like a social. We are creating the social reproduction of the slavery in Sabah. So perhaps this is just my opinion, my observation, yeah.
Yep.
And then as far as this situation is concerned, it can be very alarming because when we look into the community learning center itself, we already have more than 26,000 migrant children going to the school in the plantation run by the Indonesian embassy. Yeah, that's a good for the child, right?
Yeah.
But in many situations, it's actually when the labor market research do not align with the reality of the practice, that could be a very dangerous of putting us onto the spot of labor abuse and the promotion of human trafficking. And then the other part which I would like to probably highlight to the ministry is actually can we use actually the indicator of the number of the migrant in the plantation who received the vaccination as part of the social compliances, because this is a basic social right for them for the public health. Yeah. So as far as what's happening right now, it seems like the response for the vaccination from the plantation sector is very, very minimum as compared to the glove factory where actually they try to push their worker to go for vaccination. On contrary, plantation sector itself, they are very much close. Yeah. Perhaps can we actually like suggest that plantation sector do an audit and do what we call the joint audit together with the NGO plus the Ministry of Health on this plantation owner, because maybe perhaps there are worries about the enforcement from the immigration. But when you come to the public health audit, I think that is something that we shouldn't compromise because we cannot put our country at risk. Would you agree with that, Tuan Shanas?
I agree with Mr. Alex. But then actually this question should be raised to KSM, Ministry of Human Resource, because they are the one who are coordinating everything. And even KKM, Ministry of Health, also are looking into this matter as well. And regarding the issue of foreign labor in Sabah and Sarawak, actually they are using different ordinance. And that's why among the workers, they also can bring the family to join them to work in the plantation and to live in the plantation area. And that's why for Sabah and Sarawak, actually under Ministry of Human Resource, they are not really involved directly because the one who handle it is JTKSM Sabah and Sarawak. So that's why because of the different regulation between Sabah and Sarawak and also Semenanjung, we cannot do nothing much on the issue that is happening in Sabah and Sarawak as well.
Yeah, because pardon me if I'm wrong. I believe that actually there's a lot of coordination between the ministry with the estate owner association in Malaysia that actually try to make sure that their labor requirement is fulfilled.
That's right.
So while they are asking from your ministry for the labor, that's why can we suggest that actually as far as what we call the Malaysian policy is concerned, is all divide and rule. Whereas agencies are not actually like communicating with each other in making sure that we fight what we call the human trafficking issue together. And then, like for example, immigration, they have an own set of rule. Police have their own set of rule. Human resources will have own set of the key for performance index. We are actually not merging in finding the solution to fight the national problem. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, maybe we can look into that as well. And
can we meet up?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps we'll discuss it on because we cannot take too much time from the forum.
Yeah,
but
maybe this is not the right platform to discuss into details on that. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you very much, Anas.
Sure. No problem, Mr. Alex.
Thank you to Mr. Alex and to Shahnas for taking this question in it in a bit more elaborate manner. May I know if there are any other questions from the media at this point? Because I think we will be wrapping it up soon. Our panelists here also need to proceed with their further meetings for the day. And so may I know if any questions are there still from the media? If not, then I think we're right on time. 11:30. I would like to thank everyone who participated in the panel today. Our colleagues from the British High Commission had to leave some time ago as well. Our colleagues from the ministries, MPIC, MAPO, some of the colleagues stayed with us for the whole program. Of course, MARGMA, with their support for the project as a whole. So we and all the attendees, students, academic staff of the University of Nottingham, the media, we are thankful to your inputs today, to your questions and answers on the part of the panelists and your inquisitive minds that you put into this. We are taking note of all of this and taking all of this into consideration for our project report and for further work on this project. And we are very much looking forward to further engagement in the course of the trainings and in the course of our further meetings, especially the one that was just raised here that we are going to have between all the relevant stakeholders, including the representatives of the civil society organization. Last but not least, I thank my colleagues at the University of Nottingham, the TIP project team, Dr. Karma, Ms. Alia and Ms. Savita for their support throughout the events. They might have been invisible in the course of today, but this project wouldn't be possible without their support. Thank you so much to everyone. And I think that will be all from us for today. And we're always contactable, so you know where to find us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.